The tears of Benue. The morning sun rose gently over the hills of Benue, casting long shadows across the green fields. The village was waking up slowly, with the crowing of roosters and the laughter of children running to fetch water from the stream. In a small clay house at the edge of the village, Peter, his mother Rosaline, and his younger sister Esther prepared to go to their cassava farm. Peter was only 18, tall and strong from years of helping on the farm. His mother Rosaline was 51, a woman with lines of wisdom on her face, worn down by the burdens of life but still carrying herself with quiet dignity. Esther, just 15, was full of youthful energy, her laughter often breaking the silence of their home. That day, as they walked to the farm with their hoes and cutlasses, none of them knew that a storm was waiting for them. When they reached the cassava fields, Peter bent down to uproot the first plant while his mother and sister gathered the leaves. Esther, at her brother's request, ran back to the house to fetch a sack bag they would use to carry the harvest. It was then, when she was gone, that shadows suddenly moved out from the nearby bushes. A group of men appeared, holding heavy weapons. Their leader, tall and fierce, raised an AK-47 rifle and pointed it straight at Peter's head. Rosaline froze, fear spreading over her face. Peter felt his heart break inside his chest. The men shouted at them, ordering them to do shameful things. Things no son and mother should ever face. Peter tried to resist, but the cold barrel of the rifle pressed against his head reminded him that refusal meant instant death. With tears streaming down his cheeks, he obeyed. His mother's cries filled the air, louder than the rustling of the cassava leaves. It was not just pain they felt, but a deep wound that no one could ever heal. As this horror unfolded, Esther returned, holding the sack bag in her small hands. Before she could understand what was happening, the men seized her too. Rosaline screamed and fell to the ground. Her body could not carry the weight of such grief, her heart gave way, and she collapsed lifelessly on the soil of her own farm. The men laughed cruelly. They turned to Esther, who struggled and wept. Peter begged them to take his life instead, but they refused. They pushed him aside, mocking his weakness. Then, one after another, they brutalized his sister until her fragile body could bear no more. Esther's cries grew weaker and weaker, until finally there was silence. She too was gone. The men ordered Peter to fetch a wheelbarrow. They placed the bodies of his mother and sister inside it and told him to carry them back to the village as a message. His tears were not like ordinary tears, they felt as if blood was pouring from his eyes. Every step he took with the wheelbarrow shook his soul. Behind him, the men laughed loudly, enjoying his sorrow. When Peter reached the edge of the village, the sight of the roofs and the sound of the people brought a sharp pain to his heart. He thought of the shame, the whispers, the questions, and the burden of telling the world what had happened. He felt there was no place left for him in life. There, under a tall tree, Peter tied a rope. With the last of his strength, he ended his pain. His body hung still, while the wheelbarrow carrying his mother and sister stood quietly under the tree. The villagers later found them and wept bitterly. The land of Benue had once again drunk the tears of its children.